Hi everyone, and welcome to another video of mine. This one is about Lobotomy Corporation, a monster management simulator, generally based off SCPs, I guess. SCPs are basically, well, it started off with this one thing called the S.C.P Foundation. Okay, I'll start from the start for the history of this. So, if you know about creepypastas are basically kind of internet horror stories about certain things, like the most basic one, which has had a lot of funny and cringy examples made of it. My video game cartridge is haunted, so like generally someone made up a story about a Nintendo 64 video game cartridge or something like that being haunted, and then someone basically dies while playing the game, and yeah, generally that kind of spooky stuff. Then this foundation was created, and I'll actually put a link in the description to a video which explains it really well, where they started making up this secret government foundation. This is all completely make believe and doesn't exist, by the way, so don't get scared about this actually existing, even if it seems really realistic. And it was called the Secure, Contain, Protect Foundation, or SCP Foundation for short. And they basically deal with SCPs, which are like anomalies throughout the world. Like, I read a few of this stuff. One was a book that basically sucks the blood out of you. Yes, I know, it's kind of nasty. And then writes itself, and it writes more and more history, and the history it writes is pretty deadly, like about this ancient civilization becoming real and potentially killing everyone. So, this game is kind of based up on them. Only this game, I'd say, is a little more tame. Yes, you do get to see a little bit of blood and guts and a little bit of gore and that kind of stuff, but if you watch my Warframe videos, it's kind of about that tame because everything is all cartoony-like and stuff like that, and not actually that horrible. The thing is, the tutorial for this, in my opinion, kind of sucks. So I'm going to make this video sort of a tutorial where I also get to go over like sort of the basics of it. So I'll just click continue, and we'll head on to day 16. This game is days, by the way. Each time you complete a day, you like get rewarded with points and can upgrade your people. And yeah, this is a save I've got kind of a little far into the game, but that shouldn't matter because I can explain things pretty well with this save. And if we actually started off from the start, I wouldn't have that many things to explain to you. Like, I wouldn't have, well, the creatures in this, they're called abnormalities, and I wouldn't have that many of them to really show you and explain how all the, concepts of this game work. Yeah, so here we are. And this is actually perfect because I'm pretty sure that I have enough people here that just get this guy into his bloody slop. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I have enough people here that I can actually show off some of the mechanics of the game by hiring some new people that are completely new, so their stats are very bad, so that I can show you how it works. Yeah, so here I'm just hiring a new person, and I will actually hire another one to show you how this actually works. So, when hiring a new employee, oh man, this guy looks terrified. It's actually pretty apt for how the game works. So yeah, when hiring a new employee, these stats on the side cost lob points. Lob points are basically called like the short for lobotomy points, and they are generated when you complete a day and do good. So I have 27 of them, a lot here. Hiring a new basic employee, like a level 1 complete stupid newbie, it's not stupid, but just new to the situation, will cost 1 lob point. However, if you level up their stats here, which I'll explain more in a moment, it starts costing more. For example, their fortitude is health, prudence is mental capacity, temperance is work speed and success, and justice is attack speed and speed rate, like walking rate, running rate, that kind of thing. So if I level up fortitude, it only increases the cost by 1. If I level up that, it only increases the cost by 1. But leveling up justice increases the cost by a whole 3 points because it is quite hard to level up justice in the game and is quite a good stat to have. You can also customize your employees, but on your first run I wouldn't recommend it, because if you change their appearance, it costs an extra lob point. So you're basically wasting lob points just to name an employee that might die anyway. So I'm just going to click cancel here, and Yeah, just hire this new person. Right, now I'm going to start the day and start explaining what everything means. So the first thing you should know is that unlike previous editions of this game, you're actually not really timed anymore. Like what used to happen is for all these things in my facility, they used to have a happiness bar on like the earlier versions of the game, and it would go down gradually. And once that bar reached 0, they would generally get out and that kind of stuff. But in the new version of the game, until you get onto some far later missions, nothing is timed, so you can take your time. So even though I could press space here to pause, we can actually take a nice little look around the facility and look at all my people, and yeah, and just generally chill here, and nothing will go wrong because we're not sending off anyone to do anything. Okay, so now on to the actual management of the abnormalities, which is these things which I'll explain. So when selecting one, for example, this skull here, called One Sin and Thousands and Hundreds of Good Deeds, I'm showing him because he's one of the first ones you ever be working on. So sorry, but for this tutorial to work, you're going to have basically the entire explanation of how to do this, the very first one in the game, totally spoiled. But I have to spoil something to actually explain it. So here we go. So when you select it, there are a bunch of things you can perform. And these, at the start, when you probably look at it, make no sense, which I don't blame you for thinking, because who would know what this kind of stuff means? But because I've watched YouTube playthroughs of earlier playthroughs of this game, this is generally what they mean. Insight represents taking care of an abnormality's containment room, generally changing the air conditioning, vacuum cleaning, and making it nice for them. That doesn't necessarily mean cleaning, it could mean spraying poop all over the walls for all we know, because some of them might actually like that. I haven't met one in so far that actually likes it, but who knows. Instinct is generally fulfilling its vital needs, like feeding it, or in the case of maybe something that doesn't have a mouth, maybe injecting it with some kind of serum that provides it energy and well-being, like healing serum. Repression is generally keeping it in its containment room or whacking it with a big heavy stick, think of beating it. Attachment is talking to it, or maybe just sitting there and listening if the thing doesn't really understand your words but just likes talking. So, what I'm going to do here is send in one of my very newest employees, this guy, McKenna. And I'm going to send in McKenna to do attachment work. So basically I'm sending them in to talk to it. Now they're going to go there and start talking to it. When a person goes into the containment area, the abnormality will generally start doing some kind of damage to them every time they get their work wrong. This represents them getting their work wrong and right. Every green box is good, which means they are doing their job, but every red box is bad, and usually the screen will flash. It will flash 4 different types of things. So if there's white clouds around the edges, it means it's doing mental damage, which is making his mental health go lower. When this goes to 0, this guy will go bonkers and totally freak out and leave the containment thing immediately. And based on how high their stat is, he will either do one of 4 reactions. He will either run around screaming his head off, dealing white damage to other employees he runs by and are near him, thus making them go insane, or he will stay in one spot, continuously shivering, and eventually, if you don't calm him down by whacking with the right kind of weapon, he will snap his own neck and kill himself. They will also deal white damage to employees nearby. Another thing they will do is run around to abnormalities that can escape, and basically whack their weapons together to aggravate the abnormality, to force it out of its containment area, and make it get loose. And then the last, in my opinion, one of the worst responses, besides the releasing abnormalities, is murder, where they'll try and go around and kill other people, including these little ones, clerks, which you have no control over, and your actual employees. Yeah, so, as you can see here, One Sin and Hundreds of Good Deeds like that work. So, when they like the work, they will grant you their unique PE boxes, and that will allow you to unlock information for them. I already have all the information here, so you can read everything about this thing. So, for example, if the work result is good, one sin will actually restore the mental capacity of employees. So let's say your work result was 1 higher, let's say you got 8, because when you get 8, it's considered a good result, and you get a tiny mental damage, like, 1 sin here is actually kind of a nice one, so he will heal the mental damage of the employee. Also, another thing it will get you is learning more about it. So, as you can see here, we know this because we're at observation 4. But if we go to something I have learned nothing about, for instance, this freaky black bird thing, it is currently at observation level 0. So we don't know what it's called, we don't know how to manage it, we don't know if it can escape and what it does when it escapes, and we don't know what actually works well on it. So if we go back over here to 1 sin, we can actually see that, we can see here that we know what it likes. We know it actually likes being talked to, and it doesn't really like being beaten if your person is good enough. Now, this actually comes, like, what it means by common and high is how high their level is, because people have different levels of all the different stats. For example, McKenna here has level 1 everything because he is new. And that means that if we send him in, 1 sin will actually like it more if he beats it than if someone with a higher level beats it. Like, for example, Evangeline here has Justice 4, so she will do a much better job at whacking it with a stick, making it unhappy because you've just started hitting it much harder. So, to show you what I mean by unlocking stuff, I'll go and send someone off to work here. Let's just pick a random one, let's say Repression, and send in Mason, one of my slightly more experienced dudes, and just speed it up while he runs over there and goes in there. I also have no idea why she's over here because I never told her to. Yeah, so as you can see, Mason is currently working on it. And, yeah, just in general, doing actually a good job. I did not expect Mason to do a good job whacking a terrifying bird thing. Yeah, so Mason has made it feel neutral. So it's neither unhappy, nor is it, upset or happy. So now that we have some PE boxes, we can start learning about it. So, for instance, if we click this, we actually learn that repression is high. So the bird actually favors best being kept, like, it's best if you try and keep it in its containment area. And it's also high within sight. So when you try and clean its stuff, like its containment area, it likes it because I guess it's a bird or something. Yeah, so generally what happened so far is 2 things going kind of right. Now I'm going to show you what happens when you get something wrong, because that can happen in this game. So I'm going to do something which I know will go wrong, because I've played a lot of this game. Sorry, but I am going to spoil... In fact, to show you what I mean by something going wrong, I'm going to have to spoil another abnormality for you. So Joel here, we're going to send them in to take care of Spiderbud, which is a giant spider. And I've told them to feed it. Yeah, so as you can see here, because Joel is not wearing any armor on, which you can get from abnormalities, by the way, they are getting kind of beat up by it because it does red damage. Red is a health, by the way, so that's one of the types of damage abnormalities can do. There's red, which is health, white, which is mental. Oh, hold on. Yeah, so as you can see, they are utterly terrified. And the spider has come down. And, yeah, they're right now looking at it. And, if you just wait for a little while longer, yeah, it has promptly just cocooned them. And, you may be thinking, like, what? Why would it do that? That's kind of... Yeah. So, there they are, cocooned, dead. The thing is, you would actually... If you, The thing is, you would actually know this if you unlocked, like, the first, bit of managerial tips. Employees who have prudence level 1, which is like white, so if they have like a mind level 1, then it will actually cocoon them because the game considers that they're stepping on its babies, and it doesn't like that. Yeah. So what you would want to do is upgrade their mental capacity to a high 2 or higher, and then they won't step on the babies. So this won't happen. But the thing is with this game, for a bunch of abnormalities, including this one, if you have more cocoons, more boxes are produced because the cocoons are actually considered food. Yes, I know, it's kind of horrible. So anyone who gets cocooned in there is actually considered food for the spider, which will make it happier, which will actually give you more boxes. And when you have enough boxes, you can start producing the armor and weapons for it. For example, one Sin, his weapon is a kind of cross stick, kind of religious stick thing, I guess. And if you whack someone with it, it restores their if you whack someone, it does white damage. The great thing about these kind of weapons, white weapons, is they don't kill panicking employees. So, for example, if one of your employees panics, let's say they've done this thing before, like let's say the response was murder, like I said, and they start trying to kill people. If you get a bunch of people to come in with these penance weapons here and whack them over the head with it, they will actually start restoring the mental health. And if you get someone's mental health all the way back up to full, they stop panicking. It's basically like their friends beating enough sense into them that they realize what they're doing is wrong and go back to being sane. Or I guess they probably would be traumatized for life, but this game doesn't really count that. They're just sane. So, now I'm going to show you what happens when an abnormality actually gets out. And how you deal with it, because the tutorial doesn't show you how to deal with it that well. So, yeah, I'm just going to use this one. And I'm going to use one of my best employees to do it, so they don't die in the containment. Also, just keep in mind that this game is a very much a trial and error game. So if you don't like that kind of thing, I generally recommend not playing it or really buying it. I really hate that kind of stuff because you will need to restart a lot. Yeah, so again here, I know I'm going to probably spoiling a little bit for this as well, but just I know that this thing here, it actually doesn't do well with insight, so that's why I'm doing it. In fact, my employee here may die, but that's okay because I planned... Yep, they're dead. I plan to restart anyway. I just want to get this thing to actually escape. Yeah, so this thing here actually shows when they're going to escape. So if you unlock the basic information for something, like I'll go again over to this bird and show you because I haven't unlocked everything about it. If you unlock the basic information, it will show you the quip loss counter, which is this thing here. If it's an X, that means the thing can't escape. But keep in mind that even if it can't escape, it may still turn out to be kind of deadly. For instance, this thing here is a certain way it can kill stuff, and so is this. This thing here, since it's got a counter, that means it can actually escape. So I'm just going to send in another extremely crappy employee just to... Yeah, McKenna, you go in there. You'll probably fail. In fact, yeah, you would definitely fail horribly. I just wanted to show you what happens when it gets out, and just generally the a few tactics on how to beat it and how to actually properly control stuff, because the tutorial doesn't show you properly at all, in my opinion. Okay, yeah, so first thing that actually happened right here is, if you pause the video, right here, it said terrified. That is because abnormalities have different levels. For example, this is a hey or he. Generally, like the level it goes is Zion, Teth, he, Wav, and then Alf. That generally indicates their threat level. And if you send an employee in whose level is generally lower than that of the abnormality, then they will be frightened and their stats will be reduced. Some abnormalities later on can reduce the stats even if your employees are the highest level, though, so keep that in mind. Okay, apparently it didn't escape. Sometimes this thing, I forget, actually doesn't escape, even if you do awful. So I'm just going to keep this on max speed and send in another, another person to do, well, basically the wrong job on it and try and get it out. Because I actually want it to break out. Yeah, also, generally, how the game works is even if you find a armor piece that, oh yeah, armor, I forgot, I need to explain how that works. So, as well as weapons, you can also get armor. For example, this is the armor of, one Sin, and it's called Penance as well. And this indicates what it is good against. Generally, the higher numbers indicate that it is vulnerable to something. Like it's like if it's 1 is the general baseline. It's like 1 means normal. Anything lower than 1 means it's good against that. Anything higher means it's bad against that. But this is actually quite a good armor set. The reason why is the base suit your people wear has 2.0 damage, like protection to Pale anyway, so Pale will rip through them anyway, and it will protect against all the rest. Oh yeah, also forgot how the damage types works. Red does damage to health, white does damage to the mind, black does damage to both, and Pale does a percentage damage to, I think, health. The reason why Pale is so deadly is because even if you have a really high level employee, let's say something was doing 15 red damage to some, let's say something was doing like 8 damage to someone and they had something ridiculous like 100 health, then it would be let's say 8 damage each time. Let's say something was doing 8 damage to someone and they had 100 health, it'd take them quite a long time to die. But Pale, let's say Pale was doing a percentage chance, I'm pretty sure the percentage is kind of high, like let's say 10%. So every time they take damage, they're taking 10 damage, which is more than 8, obviously. So yeah, that's generally why this is very deadly. And also, hardly anything is resistant to Pale. Even most abnormalities, nearly all of them are weak to Pale. So that's generally why you want to use Pale and have armor that can protect against Pale the best you can. Wow, he's actually done better than everyone else and gotten a single box. I'm impressed with this guy. He's quite level. Alright, you're finally going to escape, because this is taking forever at this point. Yes, it escaped. So now, normally there would actually be music playing. And, in fact, just for a little while, I'll turn on the music just so you can hear what it sounds like, because it is generally quite awesome. Yeah, it really starts speeding up later on. So as you can see, it's generally mauling everyone in a nearby facility. Like, all these little clerks are trying to kill it with handguns, and it's actually like doing like 1-0 Yep, they're dead. So, how you want to deal with this is just generally grab everyone, and then either right-click on it like that, which will send them off to kill it, or click on it, and then order people to suppress by clicking here. So as you can see, they're getting a little bit of mental damage dealt. Oh, and now I'm going to tell them, I'm clicking on them all, and basically telling them to stop suppressing, and going back to the department, because it had just zoomed across all of them, and damaged them all. Yes, this is actually generally a good tactic if you want to deal with abnormalities like this, or anything really, is just hit and run tactics. So, attack it, and then immediately stop attacking it when it starts powering up, for instance, in this case, or just generally avoid its attacks, and just don't leave everyone in one place, because they will end up dying most of the time. Yeah, as you can see what I mean by the music's great in this game. Normally it's all calm and stuff, and when something gets loose, it goes bonkers, and then the soundtrack for when two things get loose at once is even more bonkers. Yeah, so as you can see, people are generally doing a lot of damage against it, and it's well, okay, that's weird. For some reason, the music just went all back to the normal, nice music. Yeah, I'm actually not doing that much of a good job here. And another thing that's also not helping is that people are also, like, bumping into it. Because when someone bumps into it, they generally, Oh, well, they're dead. Yeah, when someone bumps into an abnormality, they generally will try and suppress it. So yeah, as you can see there, I've actually suppressed it and it's gone back home. This was a terrible example on how to command stuff. I'm not really paying that much attention because I'm trying to talk as well. And yeah, I'd just be shutting my mouth generally, pausing a lot more, and really micromanaging people. But I just wanted to show you generally how you try and suppress one of these things. Also, another recommendation is restart this game a lot. Like right now, I've lost some really high level people, like Evangeline here. She's level 4, really good. And if that kind of stuff happens, even if you suppress one of these things, you might count as a bit of a victory. But I say generally just good idea to restart because at this point, you've lost such high level people. It's going to take way too many points to rehire them. So yeah, that's Oh wait, that's almost the entire tutorial done. I'm just going to now return to the memory depository, which means I go back to day 16, so I can show you the last thing I wanted to show you, and that's how to actually equip stuff to people, because the game doesn't explain that too well as well. So, for example here, I have 2 people who now don't have any equipment. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have a bunch of people that don't have any... Wait a minute. Oh! I didn't really realize this, but by actually showing you all of that, I forgot that the game takes into account everything you lost. So even though I restart the day, everyone with one of these things here that has died has permanently died. So yeah. Also, that's another reason why you may want to restart the second things start going bad, because you will start losing armor equipment, which costs PE boxes to reproduce. I have heaps here because this one is easy to work with. But let's say there was something which wasn't so easy to work with, like the spider, and I started losing heaps of stuff from that. That wouldn't be so good. And then, in that case, yeah, you really might want to just restart way earlier. Yeah, so anyway, as I was saying, equipping equipment. How you do that is you click on this button, Ego List. Then, you select the person you want to have equipment. For example, this guy here, wow, and then you drag him over to the equipment you want. Actually, you select him, and then you select the equipment you want him to have. So now he has this thing called Red Eyes, which is basically a bat that is spider themed. And I'll also give him this armor. Wait, no, forgot. Yeah, armor's over here, so I'll give him this armor. Yeah, so that's generally how to equip people, because at first when I seen this, I was a little bit confused as well. So this is where you find all your armors, this is where you find all your weapons, and these, if you click these are like categories for what I said before, for like the threat levels. So you can check, this shows the threat, like all your Zion, which is like the weakest threat level gear. Then next up is Teth, then he, then Wav, then Alf. And as you can see, I have none of those because this is kind of still semi-early game-ish. Yeah, so anyway, this basically concludes this basic tutorial on how to play the game. And generally, when working with these things, I say try lots of different things with them, heaps of trial and error. Just generally try and wing it like that and restart a lot. And if it gets really way too frustrating, just go look up the wiki, because this thing is complicated. Some people like to play games constantly looking at the wiki. If you like to do it like that, who cares? Who's really there to judge you? People on the internet, who cares? I say play this game how you want it. Oh, one last thing before I stop this video is different departments have different effects, and people will get better effects if they stay in the department for a long time. So as you complete missions, which are like quests in this game, for example, one of them was complete a day with only three employees in each department. Don't put 5 in there. Then you complete a mission from like this one, which is the security team. And as you do that, if it's like if you complete the first few set of quests, it gets it to level 1, which is like 10%, then level 2, which is 30%, and level 3, which is 50%. And by the percent, it increases the healing rate of all employees in this department. But for the control team, it's different. It increases the movement speed of all employees. And also, What this means, the department long-term service effect, it means that the longer you keep people in the department, they will like start to know the department better and work with the other people in the department better, and that's represented by them getting increased level, like these increased levels. So the control team gives them more movement increase, whereas the security team gives them increased fortitude, like mind and health. So yeah, that's generally why it's good to keep people in departments for a long time. But if you've got one of your best people who need us to have them switch departments, do it, because in the end you'll generally find departments where everyone fits in, and I'm pretty sure you only need. I'm not sure how many days you need to get to this. I'm pretty sure level 3 is around 7 days. That's around maybe like level 2 and that's around level 3 or 4. Don't quote me on that though. Those extremely rough guesses. But don't worry about putting someone in a different department really late on if you really need to. Switch people as needed. It's not that much of a really core thing. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the video. I hope you enjoyed this semi-long, semi-rambling tutorial of how to play Lobotomy. Bye!